Makeup has evolved so much, and so have we. So I'm going to show you on half of my face 2016 makeup and half of my face 2025 makeup, and we're going to see which era wins. My first step for both eras has always been brows. However, I definitely do them so differently now compared to 2016. I used to do my brows with the ABH brow pomade. However, I don't actually think I have that anymore, and if I do, I can't find it. So I've just made a little concoction of the Inglot Duraline. This basically makes any sort of pigments or anything dried out come alive again, and I've mixed a bit of this with eyeshadow, and I hope it's gonna work. My eyebrows are also extremely grown out compared to how I used to have them. So let's see how we can do with this. I would say that is a pretty accurate representation of what my 2016 brows look like. Oh my god, thank god they're not like that anymore. Okay, let's do 2025 side. I am queen of soap brows. Love a soap brow. I actually still use a bar of soap most of the time, but I do also love the e.l.f. like brow laminating. Anything to stick my eyebrows down and keep them put, and I don't even fill them in. Like, oh, so much easier. And that is all I do for my 2025 brow. The shape is actually not that dissimilar. It just has a very, very different sort of after effect. Okay, next. Yes, I did still moisturise in 2016. Did I use the Weleda? No, I probably didn't even know it existed. However, I only have this one to hand, so this will be my moisturiser of choice. But I think, from memory, I went through a phase of loving the Nivea shaving balm thing. Ow, just thinking about it, like, how did I allow myself to put that on my skin? I literally don't know. But I did still moisturise / prime and do something. I don't really remember priming so much in 2016, although I do remember loving the MAC Strobe Cream, but I used it very sparingly because it was expensive and I didn't want to use it up. I was literally so obsessed with it. But I do also remember having a very matte face, so I kind of don't know what happened to it. Maybe it was just a rubbish product because the glow disappeared. I was never glowy. However, these days in 2025, priming is, I literally use like 3 different primers, so let's go. First one is very, very loved, but I love the e.l.f. gripping primer. I always use a gripping primer before I do anything because it just makes your makeup last for like ages. And then I'll always go in with something glowy. This is the Rodial glass primer. I love this. This is one of my favourite primers. Just look how glowy it is. Look, that is insane. It's like got almost gold reflective bits in, almost. It's just amazing. And then I do usually always go in with Flawless Filter, just to kind of even my skin tone before foundation and give me even more glow, because it's 2025, who doesn't want glowy makeup? I've got no tan on right now, and I always use this to make me more tanned, so everything's gonna be a little bit dark. Let's move on to foundation. Think full coverage, quite matte. You don't want to see a single pore or a single freckle or anything. That's 2016. I'm gonna go in with the Milani Conceal and Perfect, mainly because I think it's my most full coverage, and also it's my most pale, and I'm a pale queen right now. I feel like this is a really bad reflection because I actually did not wear pale makeup in 2016. I actually used to fake tan even more than I do now, which who knew was possible. I'm only not fake tan because tomorrow night is fake tan night. Actually, bad representation. I never went in with a brush. Always a sponge. I was a beauty blender girl from a very early age, which is crazy because I don't know how I got the coverage I got, because I think a brush gives such better coverage. Oh my gosh, I haven't curled out my brows. I used to always do my eyes first, that's why. And I haven't done my eyes first because I don't do them first anymore. Okay, let me carve out my brows. I won't do my eyes first still, but I will carve them out and I'll be right back. Okay, let's do the 2025 side now. I like to go in with much lighter weight foundations. and a lot of a glowier finish. I do actually love the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk. That is my go-to. However, I only have really tan shades of it. So I'm going to go in with the L'Oreal True Match Tinted Serum. This is also really, really good. She's a little darker, but we'll ignore that. I do still wear full coverage foundation. I do love the NARS Sheer Glow. But again, I've only got a really dark shade of it because I don't really wear foundation when I'm pale. I normally just do like concealer and bronzer. Not pale very often. I love to go in for my foundation with a brush and then a beauty blender. I find that this gives me nice coverage, and then the beauty blender kind of picks up any excess, gets rid of any streaks. Concealer was definitely still a thing in 2016. It just was done very differently. It was always a super full coverage concealer, and it was a big triangle. Concealer is actually darker than the foundation. Let me get a different one. This should be a bit better. It literally was that, like, so much. And then on the forehead, of course. Still do the forehead now. I actually do very similar placement now. I just use a lot less. And then I used to sometimes go in just to carve that out. And I used to go in again with that after my contour to carve it out even more. Okay, let's do 2025 side now. Like I say, it's a lot lighter and the finish is just very different. I did actually used to use this concealer still, the NARS Creamy Concealer in 2016. However, I used it very differently. I used a super pale shade firstly, whereas obviously now I don't. And I did the big triangle. Whereas now, just a tiny small amount of placement. Like that, like that. Sometimes around my nose, depending on my skin, and that's about it. And then, key here, I blend it in with a brush. So much better. Just so much better. And then I just smooth everything out with a beauty blender again, because we don't want any streaks around here. Still have one of the OG contour products that I used to use. It's the LA Girl Pro Conceal. It's a concealer and it has like a little applicator like that. And I actually don't know how much is left in this. I think there should be quite a lot. And I used to literally go full on in. I feel like this must have been a more recent, not recent, but like a newer shade. Because I used to go a lot more cool tones than this. But I literally used to do that. And then I didn't do my nose. I've always done under my lip. My sister always told me the hack about doing under your lip because it makes it look bigger. So I've always done that, and I still to this day do it. And again, not really using brushes around here. We used to go in with a beauty blender and literally pound it until it was all somewhat blended. It was never fully blended. And then, like I said, I used to bring it so low down that I would have to go in with a bit of concealer underneath. And I would just use so much of the contour that it lost the brightness of the other parts. So I used to just do that. And then blend it in with the same beauty blender that does all of the dark on. And just hope that it made me more snatched. Okay, and then on the 2025 side, my Love and Joy Jordana T-shirt bronzer. This is just, it's so nice, it's so creamy. It is coverage, which I like because I don't wear a really heavy coverage foundation, but also we use a small amount and we don't bring it all the way across my forehead. Still do the jaw, still do underneath, and I do my nose. It's a big part. Can't believe I never used to do anything on my nose. I think I just rubbed bronzer on it and it was done. I also blend this in with a brush. A nice angled contour brush, and we keep it high, we don't bring it down. And then for nose contour, I just go in with a small brush and I always bring that into my eye, because at this point I won't have done eyeshadow on my 2025 side. I normally have done eyeshadow on my 2016 side by now, but it doesn't matter, we're mixing the steps up a little bit. Okay, this side is getting zero blush. I don't even think I knew blush really existed. However, recently I've been loving a mauvey sort of shade of a blush. So we're just going to do a couple of dots, and we like to bring it up and keep it high. I just love blush. It actually makes the biggest difference to your cheek. It just brings the life back to you. Okay, powder. I actually don't remember when I started using this powder. I don't think it was that far after 2016. If not, I don't know when it came out. But this is the Laura Mercier translucent powder. I used to use a dry beauty blender to pat this in, so that's what we're gonna do. I have my dry beauty blender, and it wasn't just a small amount, it was caked, and it was pressed in. I used to powder my whole face, and then we would go in and bake. Okay, now let's do the more recent side. Tap off the excess and just pat lightly underneath, anywhere that you don't want to shine. Okay, bronzer. I used to take a big fluffy brush, and I used to take the Balm bronzer, which I actually still have. I'm not sure this was the actual shade I had. And I used to sort of go everywhere, but concentrate it more on the areas that I'd like contoured. Now you can see why I ended up so tanned. Oh my god, I'm so much darker than I was always. Okay, and then 2025 side, I go in, still with a big brush to be fair, but a much smaller amount and a much more precise location. And I don't rub it around, I just tap it on. And then in 2016, this is the point when I would bake. And it would look like that. And it would go everywhere, which it has done. And then on this side, we're gonna go in with a bit of blusher, just to sort of bring that colour back. And then we'll move on to eyes. So, 2016, I think, cut crease, glitter, shimmer, colourful. I was wearing it all, trust me, all of it. So I've already carved my brows and primed my lid with the P. Louise base. This was just my go-to. I've not used it in so long. It was nostalgic. I was just looking for the eyeshadow palette that I wanted to use, and I found what I used to do my bronzer and powder with. I'm so sad I didn't use it, but I used to use the Anastasia contour and powder. I actually haven't hit pan on this one. I think this must have been like my fourth one that I got. I bloody loved this. Oh my gosh. This was like my go-to. I used to use the banana powder. You can kind of see where I've like used it and it's gotten all weird. But oh my god, I might have to use a bit of this. I definitely was not using Laura Mercier in 2016. This is what I was using. Oh my gosh. The Anastasia Soft Glam palette. I did have the Renaissance one as well, but I can't find that. But you know what? I actually loved this, and I feel like I should reach for it more because it's so nice. I don't remember if the shadows are any good, but let's see. You know what? Look at that pigment. How do I not reach for this eyeshadow palette more? Oh my gosh. We're gonna do a very 2016 sort of smoky, shimmery eyeshadow. I did not just go in straight away with the shimmer like I would now. I used to literally cut out my crease and then put it on so it popped. And then I'd take a nice flat brush and I would pat that on. And it would look something a bit like that. Then I would go in with a liquid eyeliner, black of course. I didn't do the biggest of wings, but there was something there. I definitely got a lot better at doing my eyeliner. I used to literally be sat there with a shaking hand and it would be all over, having to use a cotton bud, everything. And actually, considering I have not done a liquid liner eyeliner in so long, that was pretty good. I then used to carve out under it with concealer. I don't know if this is going to work because I've just powdered, but we'll give it a go. Then I used to just pat away all of the powder with my beauty blender and go in with my bronzing brush again. No more products on it and just literally wipe it all away and hope that those bits weren't super pale, because I was then like, oh my god, I'm pale, even though that was the point of them. Like that. I definitely think I had a stronger contour, so I am going to go in with this palette that I was talking about earlier and just define my contour a bit more. I think I used to use a bit of a darker shade. Let's do my 2025 eye now. Very simple, very plain, very minimalistic, but still like nice. I still prime my eye, but I just use leftover foundation or concealer, just whatever, and I just pat my beauty blender in, and that does the job. I am going to go in with the Anastasia palette just to show you the difference that you can do with 2 eye looks that are completely different eras, but it's the same palette because it's still a very nice palette. Next, I used to go in with highlighter. I have and always will love highlighter. However, what I used to do with my highlighter in 2016 was not the best look. I used to literally take this brush. It was this exact brush. Don't think it was this exact highlighter. I was just trying to find a really old one that I had, but this was the Jordana T-shirt highlighter. It's like the very original. And I literally would make it so my whole cheek was highlighted. And that was it. I didn't do anywhere else. Just there. Just like that. Almost so my cheek was going muddy. I've also had this highlighter for years. She is the love of my life. She is not sold anymore, and I smashed her a few weeks ago, so it's a bit of a touchy subject. It's the Doll Beauty Shine Bright highlighter. And it's so sad, but I'll show you what I do with highlighter now. I take a brush like that, and I'll take a little bit really small, and then just focus it literally on the high points. It's a bit on the nose, it's a bit there, and a little bit on my chin, and that's it. Very subtle. Okay, I have always used setting spray, however I only have really glowy ones these days, so we are going to set, but we're going to set this side a lot more. With my 2025 makeup, I actually do sometimes set in between steps, but I thought that would be really hard with it and trying to avoid this side, which is why I didn't. I am really aware the colour of this is not matching the colour of this. I don't normally wear a full face of makeup with such pale skin, but we get the vibe. We will bring it down my body a bit. I've never really been the biggest lash person, and I've never done my mascara that differently, although I do now wear brown mascara, so that's probably the biggest difference. If this one will be black mascara and this one will be brown. They both are still spider legs. I love spider leg eyelashes, like it's what I like. I feel like for my lips, I used to always change between MAC Velvet Teddy and Spirit, depending on if I wanted something lighter or darker. It was always matte. It was never ever a gloss. But I'm just going to go in with a lip liner first, because I did actually still use lip liner. Obviously used to also draw my lips quite a lot. I think the lip liner definitely used to be darker than this, but it's all I've really got. A bit like that. It definitely used to be darker. But I am going to go in with Velvet Teddy, so I don't need to worry about it being too dark, the lip liner. I did also used to try and rock a dark, like purple burgundy lipstick, but it wasn't a vibe. My now go-to is Morphe Sweet Tea lip liner, and then I go in with something really pale, usually this Lossy London liquid lipstick, and then always this Fenty gloss in the shade Fenty Glow 01. I'm obsessed with it. And there we have it. That's 2016 makeup versus 2025 makeup. Honestly, I actually really like different elements of both. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer.